Dr. Miller here. I thought I'd put a video. I'm sorry my camcorder isn't working, but just imagine Brad Pitt talking to you, because that's pretty much what I look like. So, about the same thing. I'll keep this short. I just thought this was, I'll use the word funny. I don't mean like, I'm not laughing at this particular systematic review, because this was well done, I thought, as well done as you could. And, not to appeal to authority, but Brand Schoenfeld's on it. So it looks, like there's some credibility to it. And it's certainly related. And what I'm going to do is send you to the last video I made that is related to this topic. I'm just out of the same group. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember the authors, but this is a pretty specialized topic, so I'm guessing it's out of the same group. But an article that was put out in the Strength Conditioning Journal. This is out of the Journal of Strength Conditioning. Okay, the Strength Conditioning Journal talked about this very phenomenon of looking at the length-tension relationship and partial repetitions. And so I'm not going to go over that again. I think this systematic review kind of just reinforces what I talked about in the last video and the article that was released in Strength Conditioning Journal. So check that video out. It was when I released this one. What I wanted to just quickly talk about, I think this is funny, just because I think in exercise and sports science we get bored. In the same way that, the gym bro that everybody makes fun of, and I was a gym bro, so I can make fun of myself, but also as a gym bro, I mean, I spent a lot of time in the gym, and you get boring doing the same thing over and over again. Now, there's value in that, but there can be times when you've lifted for multiple years, right? 5, 6, 7 years, where you're like, man, how many could I take this biceps curl and maybe do some partials? And when I do, man, I get a really good pump when I do that, because I can get more repetitions. My density of training is higher, even if my range of motion isn't as good as it should be, right? I'm a full repetition or full range of motion repetition person, but there is benefit in partials. And I think the partials is the physiological that could occur here. I don't think they're any better than full range of motion overall, but they could be just as effective. And that's a lot of these studies, like intermittent fasting. Is it better than general caloric restriction? No, not really. Yes, I realize there's some things with insulin sensitivity, et cetera, but really, if you cut harder in the general caloric restriction, you would get the same effect. Okay, so what I'm getting at is we know it works. Like, if you want to lose weight, don't eat so many calories, right? And maybe exercise a little bit and create that chasm where you have a caloric deficit, and that's how you lose weight. If you want to get stronger, lift heavy weights. If you want to gain big muscles, then you got to put in a lot of volume over time. These are all things we know. Full range of motion exercise, resistance exercise produces skeletal muscle hypertrophy. Cool. And then I think we just get kind of bored with that. Just like the gym bro, like I was bored with it. I think in the research literature, we just keep trying to find, and I think this is great. I think it's interesting. I'm not saying this is bad, or I think this is really interesting. I do the same thing. I'm always looking for like angles, right? Life hacks, right? These are resistance training hacks. And so we look for these things, and it just makes me laugh, because I just think we're bored. The research literature in strength conditioning is not that old, right? I mean, strength conditioning, as a kind of a research body, is only about 40, 50 years old, maybe, if we're generous. There's not a lot, it's got a real long history compared to other fields. And so I almost think that we've got to the point, though, where we're like, okay, I think we've got kind of some general things that work really, really figured out, and now we're just bored. And so we're just trying to find stuff that can create the new and cool. And so, talking about partial reps is cool. Talking about intermittent fasting is cool. Talking about work to rest ratios in a new way for cardiovascular conditions is cool. Reinventing interval training. As I'm saying this, I'm looking at a book on my desk. I think it was 1978. It's called Interval Training for Lifetime Fitness. So we just reinvented that. I mean, I just think we get bored, and I think that's okay. Like, it's okay to say what else is out there to keep people engaged. If you heard me talk about wave training, I think the real benefit of wave training, so going up and down and load, or I know there's lots of ways to do waves, there's auto-regulated versions, et cetera, et cetera. But when I work with people, I do waves of just heavy load, light load, and we still get the same amount of volume I get in at both repetition ranges, but just changing the weights and feeling the weight different on your back. If you're doing a back squat or a bench, it's a different kind of motivation. It stimulates you to work harder. And I realize there's some neurological effects that could occur, like post-activation potentiation and so on, but I think the real effect is that training sometimes can be a little monotonous. And so if we can add in some of these extras to keep us entertained and keep us coming back, keep us excited about training, I think that's the value. I don't think it's the physiological as much. That's my opinion. You can flush it down the drain. I'm just some small professor, small fish in a small pond with small thoughts. But I just think that's interesting. I haven't been in this field for over 20 years now. I just think people get bored, and even researchers run out of things. How many times can you say that men are stronger than women? Lifting weights makes you stronger. If you want to get in shape, you need to do something that's more than you've been doing, right? If you want to get stronger, lift something heavier than you did before, right? And that's the name of the game. And how we do that, we can, make a car look all kind of nice and pretty, but it's still just a car. So that's just commentary. I thought I'd add that. You can, ignore this if you want to, and I guess unsubscribe. But if you like this, if you thought this was really good, do subscribe and do like, because I still am on the quest to get to 1,000 subs. I don't know if I ever make it. I don't post consistently enough, and I don't have a cam canal, so I'd probably be on the 8 ball. But if you would, please subscribe. Check out my other videos. I feel like I'm begging. That sounded kind of begging, but that's okay. Go back and look at some of my other videos, and I'll be also announcing that in the next, I don't know when it's going to come out for sure, but I did put together, in conjunction with Neil Asher Education, I'm putting together a resistance training theory course. So if you're interested in that, be sure to look that up. It's not out yet. Still got to film it, actually. It's going to be filmed in the next month here. But for some of you interested in more of the exercise science and then program design and program structure, I take you through all that. If you haven't read my book, it's called Foundational Weight Training. It kind of follows the same kind of train of thought, no pun intended again, about building a program and the theoretical underpinnings associated with that, how to organize a program, some of the sources I've used when I build programs, and then some exercise selection techniques, stuff like that. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for some of you that might be interested in the field of exercise and sports science. Perhaps you're interested in personal training, you are a personal trainer, a coach, or you just want to learn more. They might find that video series helpful. Okay, that's enough yapping for the day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully, if I can get a cam. If not, I'll just keep releasing some of these videos. I have an article here in front of me that I'd like to talk about as well, and maybe I'll review that old interval training book because I think it's pretty cool. Dr. Miller out.